There was an article in The Print with the title Educated Women Are Having Fewer Children. It's Not Good for India's Demographic Dividend. This is slightly big deal because The Print is fairly known newspaper in India. And there are three problems with this article that I want to point out. First is the title itself. Educated women are having fewer children, and it's not a good thing for India's demographic dividend. Now, even today, India is far more severely patriarchal society. In general, I'm talking about there are going to be differences in the corners of the country, but overall, in general, very strong patriarchal society, very strong traditional society. Religious sentiment run severely strong within the minds and brains of the citizens. And the gender gap in all aspects of life is very high. LGBTQ people are not treated rightly at all, and women are not treated correctly at all. Like there's a lot of issues in treatment of women in India. That is a situation that we live in today. With that background, this title, even though it is true, it's a fact that educated women are having fewer children, and the article goes at length mentioning different numbers of fertility rate in different sections of women who are graduated, who have not graduated but have gone to school, and who are illiterate, and so on. So this is true. I'm not disputing that whether it is true or not. What I'm saying is that the messaging which is conveyed from this title is extremely dangerous with the background that I said, the kind of society that we have in India today. That's point number one. Point number two is the subtitle. DINK, double income, no kids, is a Western concept. Working couples are aspiring to live a more independent and luxurious life instead of having kids. But this can spell ruin for India's demography. First of all, there is no reason to point out that this is a Western concept. A lot of concepts in India, including a lot of concepts about democracy in India, are Western concepts. Take about the laws, the modern laws in modern India, the Constitution of India. Thinkers of India like Jyotiba Phule were inspired from people like Thomas Paine in America. The concept of one person, one vote is not an Indian concept. A lot of foods that we eat, a lot of fruits that we eat, a lot of vegetables that we eat, which we think now are part of our culture, have actually come from different cultures, including Western cultures. Similar is the case with words and languages and the concepts and the ideas. There's a lot of exchange of ideas, exchange of goods and services. So there is really no need to point out if something is a Western concept in this context. That's one point about that subtitle. The second part is the whole article talks about this, or that people are not having enough children. We have this demographic dividend. Demographic dividend is large number of young people who can do a lot of things. So we have this demographic dividend, but we lose that by 2042 because people are not having children. That is the general theme of this article. And while presenting that theme, it sort of builds a false dichotomy. On the one hand, it says the option is we should have more children and continue that demographic dividend. It doesn't care to answer the questions about, how can we just keep on increasing the population? What about the existing population? What about jobs? How can we even keep on supporting the existing population constantly? It doesn't care to answer those questions. It just says, on the one hand, we ought to have more children so that we continue to have this so-called demographic dividend. On the other hand, people are not having children because they are dinks. They are like, they want to enjoy their own life. They are self-centered. These are the only two options the article presents. But there is a third option, which is the actual option of antinatalism. Before having a child, you should think of consequences, of ethical aspects, of moral aspects of having child, of procreating. Nobody seems to be talking about that. That is the false dichotomy I want to point out. And it is disappointing because this place, this country, the culture of India, the religions which have been followed, the ancient texts and literature, they talk so much about ethical issues of life, meaning of life, procreation, having children, although they don't directly go to antinatalism. But in the similar vein as Christianity in the Western philosophy at least could recognize that this wasn't a good world to be in, the ancient literature and texts of in this country also have done the same. In fact, Schopenhauer was inspired by them. That's one. So in that background, nobody is talking about it, is very disappointing. There is good traction for child freedom now in India. People think of child free. The concepts about child free are appearing slightly in movies and in programs in mainstream media. A lot of articles are being written, but nobody ever dares to go near antinatalism like the way it is done in the West today. Even I personally get queries from people in India asking me to make videos about India, but they are more mainly about, you know, what will we do, who will take care of our old age, can you make something on old age homes, can you make something on adoption, can you make something on cost of having children. I'm not denying the validity of those points, but that is not antinatalism. So in my view, antinatalism, to the extent that it has gone into the Western cultures, Western countries, has not arrived in India, almost has not at all arrived in India. That is the disappointing fact through this article, which I wanted to say.